The narrative commences in the land of Denmark during the era of the Vikings. Atop a hill, an enormous giant was joyfully playing with his small child when a Viking leader arrived accompanied by his men. Their intention was to slay the giant. The giant noticed them from afar and swiftly picked up his child to escape. However, they approached him very closely. Consequently, the giant concealed his child and readied himself to confront the Vikings. Yet, confronting such a multitude, it became difficult for the lone giant. The rebels shot arrows into the giant's chest and burned his body. The giant, writhing in pain, fell down the hill and lost his life. The little child was hiding and witnessed everything. At that moment, the Viking leader noticed the child. He removed his mask and started to attack the child with a sword. However, when he saw the child's innocent face while swinging the sword, he felt compassion and left the child there, walking away. But his companions thought that the leader had also killed the child. The child was also thought to be killed. After this, the small child climbed down the hill and went to his father's corpse. He wanted to protect his father's body from the vultures, but his father's body was so large that he couldn't lift it. Then the child picked up a sword and cut his father's body into several pieces and took his father's head with him to his cave. Many years passed, and now the child had grown up. He had become quite large and even more powerful than his father. But whenever he looked at his father's severed head, his memories would become fresh and he would remember his revenge and start crying loudly. When he gazes upon his father's severed head, his memories become vivid and he recalls his desire for vengeance, weeping loudly. Meanwhile, the Vikings were rejoicing because they had constructed a new tavern in their village and extended an invitation to the village chief to inaugurate it for the very first time. Concurrently, the giant also emerged from his cave. He was eager to seek retribution for his father's demise. That particular night, while a significant number of the Vikings were joyously celebrating within the tavern, the enormous giant made his way there and brutally crushed the god's head, resulting in his death. Subsequently, he entered the tavern and mercilessly killed all the workers present. The following morning, the village chief arrived there, accompanied by his companions. As soon as he stepped inside, he was utterly stunned by the horrific scene within. The bodies of the individuals were lying there brutally, having been mercilessly slaughtered. The chief inquired of his man, "Where were you when all of this was occurring?" He responded, "I had gone to the village. Some young boys remained here to have fun." However, it was quite surprising that whoever was present did not attack the nearby children or women. Witnessing all this, the chief became deeply troubled. Following this, we see another Viking leader, Leo. He is a very well-known warrior of the Vikings. Why kings? Actually, they were robbers. They used to make their living by looting other cities and villages and preferred to stay mostly in places with water. They were about to go to another country to loot when the weather started getting bad. Because of this, they had to stop near Denmark. That night, the chief went out with some of his soldiers to find the person who was killing the Vikings. But as soon as they moved a little further, the giant suddenly appeared behind the soldiers and with one, he struck down and killed the soldier. The chief witnessed all of this and pursued the giant with his sword in hand. The giant swiftly retreated and the chief couldn't comprehend why the giant was selectively killing individuals and what his intentions were. The following day, all the villagers gathered to see the bodies and the chief's wife told him that at this rate, all the women would eventually become widows. The giant was selectively killing only the warriors. In this manner, only women and children would be left in our village. Kia found himself without a response and no remedy, so he stayed quiet due to his embarrassment. Following this, the chief's wife approached a woman named Lena, who resided in solitude on a mountain beyond the village. The chief's wife inquired, "You possess the ability to foresee death before it arrives, or so people claim. Please tell me, will my husband meet the same fate as the others?" Individuals are truly despicable. Initially, your warriors forcibly took me from my home village, then exploited my body, and once they were finished, they abandoned me here in isolation. They cast me out from the community. In response, the chief's wife remarked that what transpired with you was indeed unjust, but I am not accountable for it. Lena replied that it no longer matters, and yes, your husband will not perish at the hands of the giant, but all your other warriors will meet their demise. Upon hearing this, the chief's wife silently departed from there. In the meantime, Leo and his fellow travelers arrived close to their village. Upon spotting them, a mounted soldier cautioned that this territory is also under the dominion of the Vikings. If your intention is to plunder, then you should turn back. Leo introduced himself and the soldier promptly recognized him. Leo assured that they merely wished to rest here for a few days with no intention of causing harm to anyone. Upon hearing this, the soldier cheerfully remarked that he has heard much about Leo. He then offered, "Come, allow me to escort you to the village. I shall introduce you to Avli, and together with him, you will meet the chief." The chief was exceedingly delighted to meet Leo and remarked, "The last time I encountered your father, you were merely a small child, and now you have grown into a formidable warrior." Leo acknowledged this with a smile. That evening, the chief organized a grand feast at the tavern for Leo and his companions. The chief's wife personally served them beverages. During the feast, Leo inquired why there are so many widows present here. Where have all the Viking warriors disappeared to? The chief explained that at night, an unknown giant attacks and only kills the men. Upon hearing this, Leo stated that if the giant comes to eliminate the Vikings every single night, then tonight I will wait for him alongside my companions. By vanquishing him, I will resolve your predicament. After the feast, the chief, his wife and others returned to their homes. However, Leo remained in the tavern with his warriors. In the midst of the night, the giant arrived outside the tavern. Initially, he approached the priest and commenced sniffing him. Subsequently, he proceeded to the entrance to ascertain whether the Vikings within were native inhabitants or foreign outsiders. With this realization, they comprehended that the giant had indeed arrived and promptly readied themselves for combat. Nevertheless, the giant discerned that the Vikings inside the tavern were not native locals. Instead of entering, the giant urinated upon the closed door. By the time the Vikings emerged to confront the giant, he had already vanished into the obscurity of the night. The following morning, the chief remarked to Leo, "This situation is rather peculiar. How did that giant allow you all to survive?" Leo responded, "Indeed, he approached the door, but rather than engaging in combat, he simply urinated and departed." Subsequently, Leo embarked with several of his warriors and a handful of villagers to pursue the giant in the mountainous region, with the hope that they would locate and slay him. Nevertheless, even after a thorough and extensive search, they did not manage to find the giant. That's the reason they made their way back to the village, utterly exhausted. A short while later, Leo ventured out alone to visit Lena, who resided near a hill on the outskirts of the village. He informed Lena that he had heard rumors of her ability to foresee death before it occurred. Lena affirmed this with a nod. She then inquired about Leo's purpose for visiting. Leo explained, "I wish to know who will perish in this impending battle between the giant and the Vikings and whether we will succeed in vanquishing this giant or not. It's crucial because I aim to safeguard the people." Lena, sharing her sorrowful story, said that these people deserve it. "Let them die. They looted and kidnapped me from my home, forcing me into a shameful life. As for your question, yes, I have seen the future. The giant will be killed, but many Vikings will die with him, and the ground will be stained with blood, which is what should happen to these people." Lena also mentioned that what these people did to the giant, they are now facing the consequences of that. They are enduring the consequences, and you ought to distance yourself from all of this. Before Leo could inquire further, they located him and mentioned that nightfall is imminent and preparations must commence. Subsequently, Leo accompanied them. Upon returning, he inquired of the tribe leader whether the giant had ever harmed a woman or child. The leader responded, "No, he only kills men." Leo said that means he's sensible and has some principles. Hearing this, the chief got angry. He said that our people are dying and you're praising him. Leo said that he wasn't praising him, just calculating that whatever he was doing it thoughtfully. Then the chief mentioned that 20 years ago they had killed a joint, and since then no joint had been seen for a long time. Don't know where this one came from. They grasped that hand and patiently waited in the tavern for the joint to make its appearance. As soon as they perceived the sound indicating the joint's arrival, they ventured outside with swords firmly in their hands. However, the joint was nowhere to be seen. In reality, the joint had departed after noticing that the same outsiders were present once more, as he had no conflict with them. The following morning, they returned to Lena and inquired, "Please tell me, how can I eliminate the joint?" "Why don't you return to your homeland with your companions?" Leo inquired. "I am determined to eliminate the joint and liberate the people residing here before my departure." Subsequently, Lena escorted Leo to her humble abode and began chanting incantations after collecting some bones. At that moment, Leo sensed that the giant had arrived outside, but it swiftly retreated upon spotting Leo. Leo mounted his horse and pursued it, but the giant ascended a hill. In a fit of anger, Leo exclaimed, "If you possess the courage, confront me. Why do you remain in this place?" At that precise moment, the giant uttered something in his native tongue and swiftly departed. Leo was unable to comprehend, but Lena understood. She informed Leo that the giant conveyed he bears no grievance against you or your companions, thus he will not launch an attack. Upon hearing this, Leo was taken aback. He returned to Lena and inquired if that is indeed the situation, then why did he make an appearance here? To this, Lena responded that she resides here in solitude and each night some roving warrior. He previously contemplated exploiting me, but ever since the giant began eliminating them, no one dares to disturb me. Consequently, I refuse to assist you because I do not wish for the giant to be slain. This giant has been quite beneficial throughout his existence. After grasping all of this, Leo approached the chief and informed him that he had communicated with the giant through Lena. She conveyed to me that the Viking warriors had been exceedingly cruel to him, which is the reason he is now exacting revenge. Upon hearing this, the chief grew concerned, and he mentioned that he would discuss it with him at a later time. As Leo was returning to his companions, he observed some children severely beating a man. Leo hurriedly chased the children away, and then the man explained to Leo that his father had once fought against Joint's father, which is the reason Joint had killed his entire family. He revealed that he knows the location where Joint resides and suggested that Leo and his companions could go there and kill him. They took possession of it and prepared themselves to sit in the boat to approach the cave where the giant resided. They ascended the hill and began searching for an entrance to the cave. A Viking attempted to venture there, but his foot slipped. Fortunately, his companions rescued him. After that incident, no one dared to descend. However, a few of the soldiers relieved themselves on the trail leading to the cave and subsequently made their way back. While they were making their way back in the boat, the giant launched an attack from beneath the water's surface. He attempted to seize the Viking who had initially relieved himself at the cave and pull him into the depths, but then the other soldiers swiftly attacked him with their long spears and managed to rescue their comrade. Following that, all the soldiers returned to the tavern and waited in anticipation for the giant, if the giant hadn't appeared there that night. Upon exiting the tavern, he observed that the giant had slain the individual who had guided them to the cave. In a fit of rage, Leo, accompanied by his companions, returned to the cave. This time, they descended utilizing a rope. Once inside the cave, they encountered peculiar sights. One of the soldiers shattered the giant's father's skull against the wall and even urinated upon it. The giant was absent at that particular moment, but upon his return, he discovered his father's. He observed the shattered fragments of the skull. With his keen sense of smell, he discerned who had been present. His dwelling had been assaulted, and he was filled with rage. That very night, while all the Vikings were resting in the tavern, the giant arrived and initially killed the soldier who had shattered his father's skull. Witnessing this, Leo also commenced battling with the giant. However, the giant was considerably stronger than Leo. After slaying his target, the giant attempted to flee through the roof. He seized his leg and forcefully pulled him downward. Leo swiftly wrapped a substantial iron chain around his hand. In a fit of anger, the giant struck Leo and attempted to break free from the chain. However, his hand became entangled in it. A Viking launched an arrow at him, but the giant effortlessly pushed him aside. Before anyone else had the opportunity to take any action, the giant severed his own hand and made his escape. He sprinted toward the sea but was unable to get very far and ultimately perished at the shoreline. Suddenly, an enigmatic force drew his body into the sea. The extraordinary aspect was that the giant was so principled. If he had desired, he could have slain everyone at that moment, but he only killed those who had shattered his father's skull. He sacrificed his life but did not harm any innocent individual. The following day, the Vikings commenced mourning their fallen comrades and their bodies were ceremoniously burned. Leo remarked to the chief, "You revealed a turbulent truth to me. Now that the giant has perished, now disclose the full truth." The chief confessed that the giant's father had been slain by them without any justification. He had committed no wrongdoing. He had never assaulted any human. And ultimately, we bore the consequences for it. The Kairosarat Viking warriors initiated their celebration within the tavern by displaying the severed hand of the giant. Realizing that the giant was now gone for eternity, the majority of individuals returned to their respective homes and Leo proceeded to visit Lena at her hut. Lena informed Leo that, as she had mentioned earlier, the giant was indeed deceased. However, you all still have more suffering to endure. Following this, Lena commenced to narrate to Leo about her previous life experiences. Many years prior, Joint had approached her. She spent merely one night with him. Subsequently, she never interacted with him again, but she acquired one benefit. After that particular night, no Viking ever troubled her again. Lena additionally informed Leo that he wasn't inherently bad. He merely carried the pain from his childhood within him. As they conversed, Lena and Leo began to grow increasingly closer to one another, and soon they got lost in each other's arms. In the middle of that dark night, Joint's mother entered the village. She came to avenge her son's death. On her way, she even killed the priest. She had no principles of any kind. She was blinded by the rage over her son's death. Then she went into the tavern and killed all the Vikings. After that, she took her son's severed hand and left. The next morning, a small boy quietly came to Lena. Lena told him to stay quiet and took him away. Meanwhile, the Vikings suspected that Joint was still alive and that he was the one who committed all these murders. It was suspected that Joint might still be alive and that he had been the one who committed all these brutal murders. The Vikings set out on a mission to find him. At the shore, they discovered the severed head of a Viking. Leo's suspicion grew even stronger. Perhaps Joint was indeed alive. He dove into the water alone and ventured inside the cave. Inside, he found Joint's body lying on a rock, and as soon as he approached, Joint's mother attacked him from behind. She began to strangle him, but Leo picked up a stone and struck her hard on the head. He picked up the sword and swiftly killed him. During this time, a small boy holding a sword arrived at the scene, and upon seeing him, Leo comprehended what had transpired. This boy was indeed the son of Lena and Joint. Leo lowered his sword and chose not to harm him. History seemed to repeat itself once again. Later, Leo returned to the tribe and informed the chief that he was departing and that Joint and his mother were genuinely dead now. Before leaving, he met Lena once more and told her that if people discovered that Joint had a son, so they will kill both of you. Lena nodded and said that this secret will remain just between us. Saying this, she left. In the end, Leo made a grave for Joint and his mother outside Lena's house. From a distance, Joint's son watched all this with tears in his eyes. He returned home with his companions. If you liked the video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.